Good morning, everybody. Betting for breakfast. I'm Mark Drumheller here with Dave Gleckner for another Saturday, and we got a ton to talk about in every sport. NBA playoffs keeps on going. Some amazing series. We saw Golden State and Miami wrap things up in advance, but two other series still on the line, and we're going to get those incredibly exciting game sevens coming up. So I can't wait. We're going to talk basketball. We're going to talk baseball. We're going to talk USFL, UFC, everything you want to talk about. We got it right here. We're going to talk about how we can make money off this game seven that's coming up tomorrow. Dave, incredible games last night. Incredible games. Things didn't really go the way I wanted them to go in the series, probably in either of them, but we saw some teams advance. Golden State, moves on. I think as a lot of people expected. We saw the odds pretty wide in their favor. And then, of course, Boston didn't even need Scott Foster to force the game.
Yeah, interesting. And hey, coming off last week, a little 4-0 weekend in NBA for me. I have a good feel about these games right now. Like I was telling you, I liked Milwaukee in that game 4. And it just I think it was 3 actually. But anyway, I feel like last night it finally put a bow on it. It's Boston series. And I felt it all along. You felt it along. I know you have Boston futures. I have some too. And the fact of the matter is, Milwaukee got a little lucky there in game 5. End of the game, offensive rebound, Portis puts it up. All of a sudden, they flip a 2-point deficit to a 1-point lead. Drew Holiday makes 2 great plays. I just don't – they would have to win 3 out of 4 games in Boston if they win game 7. And they blew their opportunity. I think they know it. Now, the only thing we can lean back on is what happened last year, right? And I just don't think it's the same as last year when Milwaukee lucked out a game 7 in Brooklyn. Lucked out Kevin Durant in, out, back around. I think that's it. And then we look at the other game 7, Phoenix Dallas. What a series. What a series of just physicality, of pure trash talk, of just gritty NBA. It reminds me of a series from the 90s, man. It's
the Bad Boys.
Yeah, it's been a good one. Luka scowling at Booker coming back at him. I like it. I like the animosity, but I do think it might be the end of the line for Dallas. But I think out of the 2 game 7s, I actually think Dallas is going to be a little bit closer in the margin.
All right, well, let's talk about that game first, right? We'll talk about that game. We'll circle back to Boston. You got the green on, all Celtics stuff, ready to go. But let's get with Dallas and Phoenix, because I think we saw last time it went to Phoenix, I think, Phoenix handled them pretty easily. Now they come back home for game 7. Home teams have won. We got a pretty big line here. You talked about Dallas being pesky, tough defense, locking Chris Paul up, forcing him into turnovers, right? Can that happen in a game 7 setting? I mean, do you think the 6.5 number is a little too wide here for Phoenix as being the favorite? I mean, Phoenix on the money line, obviously not going to play them at that number, but the 6.5 is a pretty big number.
Well, here's the deal. The closest game in the series is 7. So for me, it's pick a winner. That's really where I think you look at it. And the 7-point game was game 1. Outside of that, Phoenix won by 20 and by 30 in Phoenix. And then the games in Dallas were 9, 10, and 27. So it's I think it's pick a winner here. I mean, I know it's simple to say, but if you like Dallas, I think you can convince yourself that Dallas can play that type of rough up defense, get physical with Phoenix, and really get them off their footing. But when you get back into Phoenix and they're in that, desert air and they're running, they play so much different there. They're faster. They just seem to play off that energy. Chris Paul, I don't know if you've seen this too. It just seems like he's in space when he's in Dallas. But then he comes to Phoenix and he's a totally different dude. They did a little bit.
What do you think that is? Why do you think that? I know he had the issues with the fans and all that stuff, but it's got to be bigger than that, I think.
Yeah, I probably can't put my finger on that one. It's got to be bigger, but there's something mentally different about him. But back to what we saw in the New Orleans series. I mean, Phoenix struggled a little in that one, right? Took it to 6.
Yeah.
They're struggling with an opponent here. It's probably not a good sign for my Suns to win a championship ticket, but I do think they get through game 7. I will probably take Phoenix. I'm just going to pause and see where that line, stabilizes at. I think it'll probably sit firm on 6 by the time tip-off comes. But I'm probably leaning Phoenix. I think Dallas keeps it close, but in the end, I think Phoenix wins with margin late in the 4th.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I have Phoenix. I have some futures for them to win the West. I like them. I like how they match up against Golden State. I think when you have guys defensively that they have that really can force Clay. Like Clay obviously played great last night, first time in 5 years. So
Love Clay.
I don't. And you know what? I don't like him in this series. Like, I'll be honest with you. Like in this series, I feel like he's acted like. Maybe it's the whole Jordan Poole thing that has me, he acted like they were just above criticism. Like, the guy obviously grabbed his knee. Like, stop pretending like, that didn't happen. But, anyway, I don't like Clay. He went off last night. Good for him. But he's going to have a tougher time in Phoenix. And I think Phoenix is going to press him to do that night in and night out consistently. And I think, the Jordan Pooles and the Klay Thompsons are going to have to be even bigger in that series. And with Ayton down low, they match up well, I think, with Golden State. But, sticking to this game, lay the points. If you like Phoenix at home, lay the number. Don't worry about, them covering. They've been winning with margin in Phoenix throughout the series. So game 7, one of the things that I read is, I think that a lot of the trends going around, which I'm sure the market is very aware of, they adjust the numbers, is the unders, right? People talk about game 7, it slows down. It's playoff basketball, possession by possession. Everybody's hammering the under. We've seen movement on the unders in both games so far. This one sits around 205. I get worried because I feel like it is Phoenix's game. And if it is their game, they're going to be able to kind of take Dallas away from what they want to do some. And I think that, out of the 2 games, I think this is the total that I would probably be most, reluctant to buy in on the under on.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Again, I'm looking back at some of these numbers that we've seen posted in Phoenix. I mean, you had the 121-114 game early on. I mean, the 110-180 didn't cover, but the other one was 129-109. So you have 2 overs in 3 games in Phoenix. And I do think you'll see the fact that Dallas really shut down Phoenix last game, held them to 86 points. I think you'll get that feeling that they can do that again here. So I do think you'll see trends pointing towards the under. But I'm with you. I think they might kind of try and open this thing up because Phoenix knows. I don't think you can sit there and play that slow pace game. That's a Dallas game.
Yeah, exactly.
Dallas wants to slow it down, dribble in the mud with Luka and Brunson, kick it out for a couple threes, call it a day, right? They're not going to pound it down low. They're not going to run fast. They don't want to run with these guys. If Phoenix can get them out of that game, I think they know that's their best chance to win. I like what you're saying. I would lean a little over too.
Yeah. Conversely, to the other game, if it is played in the mud, it plays right into the hands of the favorite, right? So we have the Celtics taking on the Bucks in another game 7. That's actually the first game on Sunday. And, Boston, obviously, great defensive team. Been that way all season. We continue to see it throughout the playoffs. Have to do a better job on the boards, I think, in game 7, but we saw Jason Tatum come out of his shell. And I think that was the most important thing. Seeing him going off for, I think it was 46 points he landed with. They need that type of performance out of him. It's going to be him and Giannis in game 7 in Boston. Boston laying another big number. This is a total that I did jump on. I got it at 208. I played the under here in this game. I do think it's going to be under the total. I think it's going to be a slow, very physical game 7, everything that you would expect out of it. I liked Boston to win. Not sure if I'm running to the window to lay this type of number against Giannis, though.
I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's over. It's over. It is over. Wrap it up. Done. I mean, and I'm at all due respect to the NBA champs, all due respect to Giannis, who likes to take 6 steps and never gets called for a travel. But
that's ridiculous, dude.
It's ridiculous.
It's so bad.
That spin move, nobody in the world can guard. If you're going to let him do that, then he did one later in the game, and they called him.
He looks like Marshawn Lynch. I mean, it's like unbelievable.
And it's not last night. He does it all the time.
Yeah, he does. It's all the time.
But it's I just don't think he has enough without Middleton. I mean, he's gotten this far. I got it. And they've played their heart out. This is a Boston team that is to me the title favorites now, the way Phoenix is playing.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're taking them right to the brink, but Boston just looked more fresh again last night. They look calm. They want those types of games. They want that environment, which is crazy for a team that's not really gotten this far with Tatum and Brown. But they look like the part. And last night, Tatum was cool as can be. 46 was the second most all time for a Celtic in an elimination game, which was crazy when you think about their storied past. And he's the man right now. And now they're going to go back to their place. I like Boston a lot in this one. I think this is the biggest spread of the series too. And I think it's telling you something.
Yeah, so you're laying it with the Celtics. I think they're going to win the game. I just think that, and this is something we talked about off air, previously right before the show. Like Milwaukee having to win again in Boston would make it like 3 out of 4 games. It's just too much. Like it's just you think that that's not going to happen. But I do worry a little bit. Like it was nice to see Tatum come alive, right, and really like be the type of player that we know he could be, that I expected him to be throughout the entire playoffs. But I do want to see him follow that up with Game 7. You know what I mean? Like I do want to see him show that he can kind of do that, consistently, because I think Boston needs that. When you look at Boston, and I think them giving away that opportunity in Game 5 to really take control of the series really came down to the struggles that they've had all year during clutch time. The last 5 minutes of the game, high leverage situations when the game is close. We saw way too much Marcus Smart. It was not too smart. Like, you know what I mean? And Holiday gets the steal and they block his shot, and Holiday's all over him, and not enough Tatum, not enough Brown. And it just seems like all year, like their offense has really struggled towards the end of those games, getting those like clutch baskets when they really need them down the stretch. And that's part of what worries me about laying the number. Like, it makes me a little trepid. I would even lean towards like maybe Celtics under parlay. I hate parlaying, but a little money line and under, already have some liability on the under. I have futures liability of Boston winning the title. So it's like, do I really need to lay those points in this spot? I don't think I do. Played the under, not sure. Maybe I'll do a little money line parlay with the under as well. But you like laying the points. I can't blame you. I just think that, as much as they blew, it was the biggest collapse in postseason history for the Celtics in Game 5. And for them to come back the way they did in Game 6 has to leave Milwaukee feeling just as low. Like they missed this huge opportunity, and you wonder when it comes down to it, what the hungrier team is going to be. Is it going to be the defending champs who already won, who already felt that? Or is it going to be, the Boston Celtics team that is, wants to be there, so that dynamic, I think, will be pretty interesting. But, and again, I think if it comes down to coaching, I think it's Boston.
Yeah, let me just lay one thing out to finalize and close my statement on this game. I want you to go back to April 10th. It was a Sunday. Last regular season game of the year. The Bucks decided to punt on the season and lose a game to Cleveland so they could get the 3 seed and play the Chicago Bulls. Well, now guess what? You got Game 7 on the road. And, cowards
That's
don't win.
That's an awesome point, man.
Cowards don't win. What did the Celtics do that night? They went to Memphis and won a game. Won a game with margin, too. They said, we ain't scared of no ghosts. And they went and played Brooklyn and swept them. I just think there's a lot more that's going to be said about that event come Sunday. I mean, it's true. Milwaukee was running from it.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense, man. And, and now it's huge. Now it's huge because now you're, on the road in Game 7. That atmosphere is going to be crazy in Boston. Like, we know those fans show up. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. Game 7s are going to be tremendous. Before we move on from basketball, Dave, I want to talk a little bit about Raheem Palmer
checking in.
Text checking in. Nice. So we got the comments popping. There we go.
Yeah.
My man. Yeah, Boston's deep.
They are.
Free picks from Tech Money. Go check out Tech Money and follow him. Does a tremendous job. Heat Ratio Sports. Does his own stuff. Always putting out slips. Right?
Dude, you get tennis. you can get some, F1. You can get anything from Tech, and it's awesome. Great follow. Look him up on Twitter for sure. Thanks for checking in.
Tech doing big things. Love to see it, man. Absolutely love to see it. But listen. So, Raheem Palmer, Action Network, put out this article. I think there was a tweet or whatnot, but he talked about the impact of Game 7 going into the next series. So this is something as better as that we want to kind of look at is, do you think, hey, Boston, we'll say Boston and Phoenix advances because that's what we're projecting. They're advancing. Phoenix in Game 1 against Golden State, Boston Game 1 against Miami. Do you think they're fade spots coming off the Game 7, while the other teams have rest? Do you think that's like a possible angle we should be looking at?
Possible, but I mean, look at Golden State, what they played last night, and Phoenix is going to play tomorrow. So really, they're going to gain 2 days of rest. So that
and they have to travel.
Yeah, right. So I'm not sure. I kind of like the crispness of playing. As long as they're not playing the next night, and I didn't see yet, but I thought this was stretched out to Thursday. So I still think they're going to get some decent rest on the card. It is an interesting point, but as far as we go into, the Heat are going to play, looks like Wednesday night. So Game 1, there's a little bit there. I could see a little bit there with Boston. I mean, that series is, we mentioned how the Suns and Dallas are very physical. Obviously, that one is too. I don't want to, lighten how physical that series has been. And I just think it'll be more mental exhaustion for Boston, being down like they were, down and out after blowing that Game 5 that you documented so very well. I think winning is going to be a big relief, and it might take a little time for them to come down from that. So I do see a possibility. I agree with you. Game 1 in the Eastern Conference Finals, I think, would have more of a impact on the Game 7 winner.
So 2 questions before we move on. First one is, do we think we're going to get a good number with Phoenix against Golden State?
Yes, I think you're going to. I think there's a chance you might see them as dogs.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, and I'm all over it. Like, if they're dogs, I'm all over it. I love the way they match up with Golden State. I still think that there is some, 2018 baked in to the market numbers on Golden State. I don't think they're the same team. I think Curry's been very inconsistent during the year. Looked great last night playing, a team without their best player. But we'll see. We'll see. But I think you can get a very good number there. And my second question before we move on, you're Miami. Who do you want to see?
I tell you what.
They've had success against Milwaukee historically, but they did not have much success against them last year in the first round.
They Milwaukee swept them in the opening round last year, right? Do I go back?
They got them pretty good because I was on Miami, and I took a little bit of a bad.
I think it could have been a sweep because Milwaukee is something crazy, like, I don't know, 20-1 in first round, series lately. But I think, to be honest, if I'm Miami, I may match up a little bit better against Milwaukee just because of the Middleton issue. If Middleton's healthy, they may match up better against Boston just because of the outside wings. What's Boston going to do down low against Bam? They're just going to have to push Horford around. I think Bam has a pretty good matchup there against Horford. So Bam, like Horford, it doesn't take anything to guard him. And then what do you put? Jimmy, and then you put PJ Tucker on the 2 scorers. That's a pretty good matchup for Miami. It's not bad.
Yeah.
So without Middleton, Milwaukee, but I heard he may be back. Then I would say it's Boston.
Yeah, well, that's what you were hearing. He might have been back by the end of this series. That obviously didn't come into fruition. But who do you like?
I like Boston. I
do too, yeah.
And again, we got to watch Miami, right? And there's some really strong points about Miami. Most importantly, the bench and the 3-point shooting. Well, we also saw the games when the 3 points don't fall. They're very, very susceptible. They got beat pretty bad.
They're 70 points.
Yeah. And I don't know if they can really. Boston's one of the best teams at defending the 3. I'm not so sure that just can translate to them winning 4 games against a team when you rely so heavily. Like their half-court offense is alley-oops to Bam and 3s, or Jimmy just playing bully ball. I just don't think it matches up great against it. Like, what does Boston have to double anybody?
No. And I think that's the issue with Miami. And I think that's why, like, everyone said, like, Miami going into the playoffs disrespected as the number 1 seed. And I agree. And I still even think now, like, nobody's like Miami can talk all the talk they want. Nobody's running to the window to bet Miami futures. Like, nobody thinks they can win the title. Like, nobody. And they're, and the other 3 teams that are going to advance, that's not the case. You know what I mean? Like, they're clearly the 4th out of those 4. And I think it's warranted. So I like Boston in the series as well. I like Phoenix in the other series. Maybe I hate Golden State. I don't know. I think they match up with them. I think they're deeper. I think they're, it could be both, right? Both can be true. I could hate Golden State and they could be in a world of hurt against Phoenix, but we'll see how it all plays out. Let's move on to baseball. I know you got some MLB action, doing some big things with Win Daily Sports, clocking in a bunch of winners. What do we got on today's card? Anything good today in Major League Baseball that we can hit on?
Yeah, one of my favorites last night finally hit. And if Tech's still watching, we attacked Vince Velasquez, got some Yankees first 5 innings.
Vince.
Yeah, well, Vince got me twice, but I got him back yesterday. And I got him back by the 2nd inning, so it felt pretty good. Even played a little 2 times on that one. Vince wasn't going to roll through that lineup. So it was nice to finally get an attack spot that was good. So that hit. But yeah, there's a bunch out there today. And once again, we do have to look back at the Yankees in the first 5. There he is. And Dallas Keuchel's terrible. And he's a lefty. And the Yankees just mash lefties. You got Stanton, you got Judge, even Donaldson. Gleyber Torres has been hitting the ball well. You can flip Hicks. Like, there's a lot of things the Yankees can do. And obviously, they're on this historic roll to start the season. I think they're somewhere in 22, 23, and 8. They're winning games at the end of the game, like 3-run homers, walk-off. They're doing everything right. And the pitching's been fantastic. But today, I think they put up a good amount of runs in the first 5 against Dallas Keuchel. We last saw him a couple of starts ago against Los Angeles, the Angels. Trout went yard first inning. The guy just can't get the ball on the corners or by anyone anymore. So that means a lot of balls in play, and he's a fly ball pitcher. So that's not good for the for the White Sox against the New York Yankees. So I like the Yankees first 5 run prop. You can get it a few different places, but 2.5 is most what you'll see. And then the last one, drums in a game. You always like to give out games here. And there's a few that have expected outcomes better than what their odds are showing. One is the Blue Jays, but I'm just not so sure they struggle down in Tampa. Then I'm going to pause on that one and look at the Miami Marlins, home to the Milwaukee Brewers. Lefty Eric Lauer has been on fire lately. If you're a Philly fan, a couple Sunday nights ago, he tossed 13 Ks against these Phillies. But Trevor Rogers was a great pitcher for Miami last year. Had a really, really rough start to the season, but it started to turn it around. Lefties have fared pretty well against the Brewers so far this year. Some of the odds out there, I see Miami at a 56% outcome winning, and they're a dog. So I'll take Miami today, plus 110 against the Brewers down in South Florida.
Awesome. Baseball. Going to be going lots of opportunities to make some money in baseball. It's always fun. I know they've been playing around with the balls, kind of, making some stuff hard to predict. I know the DFS people are going a little crazy about that, but good stuff on around the diamond. Love to see it. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the UFC card tonight. We got the main event, Alexander Rakic taking on Jan Blachowicz in the light heavyweight division. Blachowicz, obviously best known for fighting, winning the title. Obviously, he lost it to Glover Teixeira his last time out, but took on Israel Adesanya in that champion versus champion and was able to kind of take him down and beat him up. And I think that's really where a lot of people kind of opened their eyes. He comes in a dog in this fight. I think it's around plus 160. I played Rakic. I think Rakic, it is his fight to win. When you look at these two fighters, Rakic, the much taller, younger, faster, more athletic fighter. And I think he's going to be able to use his leg kicks and kind of really, work Blachowicz on the feet unless he can get inside. And if he wants to try and make this a grappling match, I think the challenge that he's going to have is Ratchik is very good sprawling. You can see him kind of deliver some powerful strikes while he's sprawling. So taking him down is like not easy. So I think that, I think both these fighters are going to want to fight at distance. But I think the difference is Ratchik has the ability in this fight to take it to the mat if he needs to. And that's really been Yan's, problem throughout his career. We saw it against Teixeira. He got taken down twice. He ended up getting submitted. He couldn't get back up. Early in his career, when he first started, now we're going back, probably about a half a decade, but went on, he pretty much started with a 1-4 run. And in those, in those 4 losses, he was taken down 11 times. And then they kind of, matched him up against people that weren't really going to take him down. And he went on a little bit of run, and then he won the belt. And then, after winning the belt, again, that weakness resurfaces of, him being put on his back. So I think we could see that. That's something that Ratchik could do if the striking isn't going in his favor. But I think he's going to have success both there and on the mat. Huge fight. The winner's probably going to get the winner of, and fight for the belt probably, later on this year or early next year. So massive fight, for these two fighters. But I think it is Ratchik. I just laid the number. I laid 190 on this one and just say, listen, I'm going to take what the market gives me. I think it's too unpredictable to kind of gauge and whether, we're going to see a finish here out of Ratchik or not. So didn't play the method of victory, just played Ratchik at the minus 190. So, looking forward to the fights tonight. I got a bunch of plays, about 7 units worth up on the Sharp app. So, if you guys are listening, download the app, links in the description, get into plays, get into VIP program. You'll get all my plays each week, making money every week off the UFC. So love to see it. So come be a part of the family, but it all starts by downloading the app.
I see Win Daily, my man Jason checking in. He's betting anything today because of the money green. I like it.
There we go.
And guess what? I'm with you on your UFC pick. We hit it last week. Oliveira, we weren't.
Oh, it was beautiful, man.
Yeah, we weren't tempted by the fact that he came in a half a pound under. He still had plenty of motivation. So, again, I like it this week. I wanted to ask you quickly on UFC, how big of an embarrassment was that Thug Rose fight last week?
Oh, it was awful. It was awful. And that's kind of, that's the hard part is that, like, you see this with fighters, like, when they get to the elite level is that it becomes like, it's almost like they get overcoached. And I think that's what you saw with Rose. Like, it was like, that was the strategy. And that's what they went in there and they're like, hey, we're not going to engage, just thinking that they're going to get the benefit of the doubt. And during the fight, their corner's telling her, hey, stick to what you're doing. Keep doing it. This is what's working. And then she ends up losing the title in a fight that she didn't fight. She didn't engage. You know what I mean? And
was she scared because of the first result the first time? I mean, it was 5 years ago.
I think that's part of the strategy, right? So, like, you don't want to, like, go into the teeth of the shark, right? Or whatever, the saying is. But I think that it was just, they took it way too far. You know what I mean? Like, at some point, like, you have to make sure that you're winning rounds. And you can't, and if you're not winning rounds and you're just leaving it, to a toss-up, then you can't get mad when the coin flips on the other side. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to turn the fight into a coin flip, you can't get mad at the judge's decision. I think that's what we saw. I was on the spars at plus 185, did get that one. The Sharp app members, they got paid on that one. But, the Oliveira one bothered me because I didn't release that play. I bet it personally, but I didn't release it. And I would have loaded up. And honestly, like, I only went 1 unit on Oliveira because I was a little bit worried about the weight thing. Like, you never want to kind of, and I was ready to fire away on it. So members didn't get that one, but I mean, I told people I still liked it, but I didn't officially release it. But I thought that, he could be one of the best. Yeah. I think he's criminally underrated still. I think people are talking about, Makachev and those guys like, running the division and just, he can beat you standing. He can beat you on the ground. Very, very diverse fighter in what is the toughest division in the UFC. Like, it's like, it's like so competitive.
It's like a Rubik's Cube. Like, he just can do so many different things. You're right.
He's so good, man. Yeah. I used to hate him. Like, when he was coming up, like, I used to hate him. Like, this dude's soft. he has all these submissions, but he can't strike. He's never going to get there. But then you just see him kind of steadily build his career. And when he was able to kind of get his striking, on point, his submissions were always elite. So now he has the total package, man. And he's tough to deal with because he can take a punch. Doesn't matter, dude. You knock him down and gets right back up and fires away. So, love to see Oliveira. Can't wait to see his next fight. But I think it's probably going to be Conor. But I think they're going to give it to Conor because they're going to want the payday, and I think that it makes sense. Like I think Conor's going to be in for a world of hurt, but I think that they give Oliveira that payday, and then they make Makhachev fight, another fight before he gets a title shot.
How must Poirier feel? Like they're just like.
Well, Conor. He had a shot. He lost.
I know, but it's just to give Conor. I beat his ass twice, and Conor go have a belt chance again. And I get it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Conor broke his leg the second time, but it was, he did get the win. He did knock him out, but he had a shot at Oliveira. Got choked out.
Yep.
Lost. So
I just think more that McGregor has that red carpet.
Oh, 100%. And it's not, that's the thing. So, that's probably a separate conversation. But, I think a lot of people are what I don't like is people giving Charles a problem for wanting that fight when it's the biggest payday out there. He got it. He earned it. He's beat everybody. He earns it. You know what I mean? So, let him get the fight. Let him tune McGregor up and make a ton of money and move on from there. So,
love it. Love it.
But we'll see how it plays out. We'll see how it ends up. But I think that's what they're angling for. Before we get out of here, I want to talk a little bit USFL. Yeah. I got 2 picks on the Sharp app. I'll give one out today.
Let's see if we're on the same side.
Are you doing today's game? You want to talk about today's game?
Today, it's today's game.
All right. I'm back on the breakers today, so we'll do that one. We'll save the game for tomorrow for the Sharp app members. They got it. But today I'm on the breakers. I laid 2 in this matchup. And
it's up
I
to
think it's 3 now. Yeah, 3.5. So I am on New Orleans, and I think, the reason being is I think they're the best team in the league. Even though they lost to Birmingham, they turned the ball over a ton in that game. They fumbled at the 1-yard line. I lost money. Maybe that's why. I don't know. But I think they're the better team, and I think what you're seeing is in week 1, these teams played cross division, right? And the South is clearly the better division.
Yeah.
Right? With New Orleans, Birmingham, Houston, clearly the better division. So, and South won all 4 games. And then the last 3 weeks, these teams have been playing interdivision, beating each other up. So you're seeing the bad teams in the North kind of beat each other up. And the Generals are kind of like the best of the bad teams in the North, right? They beat Fisher, but it was a very lackluster 10-6 win. They beat the Stars. They came back on the Stars. They ran the ball in the 4th quarter during that comeback 12 straight times for a 75-yard touchdown drive. They didn't really do anything kind of crazy. The Stars defense is just so bad that they kind of let them back in. And so I don't think that they're at that level of the Birmingham, the New Orleans. So for me to be able to get this short number, I was all over it. I think they win today. I think that, one of the interesting things I think people need to keep in mind when they're playing, betting USFL is because the kicking is so erratic, the key numbers are not the key numbers in the NFL. So I jumped on this and was I want to get New Orleans. I want to get them at -2. A lot of people wanted to get it before it hit 3.5, but I don't think there's been a game all year. I ran at that, and I think there's been 0 games that landed on 3 all year. So a lot of games have landed on 7. We've seen some 7, we've seen some 6, we've seen some 5, but no games have landed on 3. Not a key number. So don't worry about it. If you like New Orleans, don't worry about laying the 3. If you like the Generals or whatever, don't sit there and feel like you have to hold out to get the 3. The 3 is not a key number in the USFL. I think that's kind of one of the big things they looked at so far because of the kicking is so erratic, and you have these, you can go for 2 points, you can go for 3-point conversions. You have that kind of, variance in there. We're not seeing the 3 make a huge difference there. So I wouldn't worry about that kind of number. But are you on the Generals? You're on the dog in this one?
Hey, man, I'm sorry to say, but I'm on the breakers too, baby.
Nice.
And this 2 QB system, I'm just not a big fan of. I know it worked out against what you just rightfully established. 3 bad teams in a row. I mean, Philadelphia, okay, but Michigan, and we know what Pittsburgh is. And, last week, struggling against Pittsburgh, letting up 13. I mean, they could have kicked a late field goal. They did miss that. That would have covered the number for us. But I'm not salty about that. But it opened up my eyes that they're just not that good. And the other side is a lot better, like you said. And I think New Orleans, they got – who's the guy that leads the USFL in rushing? They got what's his name?
Ellis, right?
Ellis, yeah. Jordan Ellis, I think his name is.
Yeah.
And that's a tough matchup. When you're looking at this game, you're looking at a team that actually is, I think, allowing 4.3 yards per carry. So I think it's a decided advantage on New Orleans side. And I'm with you. I got it at 3. I just don't think New Jersey is as good as a 3-1 record.
Yeah, I agree with you. So, and I know there's a lot of people I respect, like Eric Eager over at PFF, who are going back and forth. He was talking about how, hey, like the Generals 11-2 to win the whole thing, and they're going to get an easy path because the playoffs is in your division. So basically how it works is 10-game season, you play everybody once, so that's your 7 games, and then you play your division a second time, so that's your other 3 games, and then you play the first place team plays the second place team in the division, and then the North and the South meet in the finals, kind of like AFC, NFC kind of stuff. But so the Generals' path of getting to that game will be, pretty easy. You know what I mean? But but I still don't think, like, I think there's a pretty big gap. Like, if I were to do tiers, it would be Birmingham, New Orleans, and
Tampa.
I think the Generals are probably in the second tier by itself.
Okay.
And then it's like you get Tampa, Houston, Philly, Michigan. Like, that's all kind of like the same tier. And then at the bottom, you have Pittsburgh. But, talking about Pittsburgh, so this is one thing that I learned, like, betting these small market leagues in the past is. So a lot of people I know, I'm hearing a lot of it, a lot of people I respect, they're like, lay to 5.5 with Houston. Pittsburgh's a mess. They stink offensively. They're awful, but I'm telling you, I didn't bet this game yet, but I am looking at Pittsburgh for 2 reasons, right? So Houston's defense has been crazy reliant on turnovers. They let up the most yards per play. Now they get a ton of takeaways, and that kind of like masks the issues they're having on defense. I wasn't sure if that would continue. It looks like it is going to continue. I think they just have some playmakers on defense. They force turnovers. That's how they play. Like, I don't think that's going to necessarily go away, but they do let up a ton of yards. And so I don't think Houston might be as good as the market's kind of indicating. But the other part of it is Pittsburgh went out. They released Josh Love, their quarterback. They're going with Kyle Lauletta as the starter, but they also signed Vad Lee from James Madison, a few years back, who's going to bring that rushing element to the offense, right? So I think, I got burned a lot of times in past leagues in the AAF, the XFL, of where, like, hey, I'd zeroed in on a team because I'm like, their offense stinks. And then boom, they make a quarterback change and it's completely different. And I think that's what we could see here with Pittsburgh. They're not going to be a powerhouse of the league. They're going to run things up. But in a 1-week scenario against a team with a very poor defense, from a yards per play margin, from, those advanced metrics, I think you could see them having success. 5-6 points is a lot to lay in this league because we don't see those types of, games won by a wide margin. We haven't seen it. A lot of these games have been very close. So I think Pittsburgh might be, the side in this one. I didn't bet it yet, but it's because of that quarterback change. Like, if they give Vadley, they didn't sign him to sit on the bench. Like, I think you're going to see some rotating quarterbacks for Pittsburgh. And I think that could help them, move the ball offensively against Houston.
Well, I like where you're going with that one. One of the things, I mean, Houston, they've let up a ton of points this year. I think they're -7 in the plus-minus area. They let up 33 to Birmingham, 27 to Tampa. And then again, last week, what did they let up? They let up a bunch to 23 to the Breakers. The only game this year that they've held someone with a respectable number is that first game where Michigan was just, what they have, like 9 fumbles. Like it was just crazy.
Yeah.
It was,
but again, like even that game last week against the Breakers turned it over like 3 times in the first half.
Yeah.
Like I think they ended up with 4 turnovers. So like that was a game like we covered because New Orleans threw a touchdown with like 30 seconds left instead of like handing the ball off and kicking the field goal to win the game. But
that was nice.
So we got one, you know what I mean? But that game should have been like Houston let up. It was like 550 yards of offense in that game.
Yeah.
Like Slaughter threw for over 300. They let up like 550 yards of offense. Like New Orleans did whatever they wanted in that game. It just didn't reflect on the scoreboard and the point total.
Yeah, that's why I'm with you. It probably looks like everybody's going to fade Pittsburgh consistently. This might be one of those matchups this week. I think Houston's a little. I overvalue is the wrong term when you're 1-3, but I do think they're not that good.
Yeah, I think that they're not, and I respect the way they play. Like, listen, they got the best running back in the whole thing. Like Mark Thompson's the best running back in the whole thing. I don't think they hand them the ball enough, but. Pittsburgh, not bad up front. Like, they're going to have success running the ball, but I just think that I just got burnt with this before. Like, when they change the quarterback, it can change the dynamic, and I think we're going to see a better Pittsburgh team. I think they're going to be more competitive. Will they win? I don't know. I'm not saying play money line, but I'm saying I'm not comfortable laying that number with Houston. I'm probably going to be like Pittsburgh will probably be the side that I'm winning that matchup, but lots of good stuff. But I got another play in the Philadelphia-Birmingham game for Sharp App members. Only one way to be a part of the team, and that's download the app below, and then you're going to get all the information you need in the Discord. The link is below. Be a part of the team. The guys got plenty of picks out there. Great content, top props. Up over 100 units. I've been nailing them, putting a couple on Twitter every night in the NBA. They're dishing out props and in the MLB. So, if you're a prop bettor, plenty of good content on the Sharp app. Make sure you hop in there, be a part of the team, get in the Discord and sweat this stuff out. I'll be on there talking about all these UFC fights. Got about 7 units up, and they all look like winners right now. So we'll see how they end up. But I like how my card's set up for the UFC tonight. So I'm hoping for a big night.
Love it, my man. And hey, keep an eye on baseball. Things are starting to swing. We're hitting into month 2 here. A lot of variables starting to settle, and we're starting to see good opportunities to attack. So you're right, follow and win daily, but also, in the Sharp app where they have tons of great props and bets as well.
Awesome. Well, listen, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you all. Go download the app, be a part of the team. We'll be back next Saturday with more NBA playoffs, with more UFC, with more MLB, and some PGA. We'll get some PGA action in there, some bets for you, everything that you need. We'll see you guys next Saturday. Have a good one. Let's cash these bets.